Alright, that during on the Begi, that Lama Nane Keva, and Kazun Sound some in the Dempigane, and Jerimuche, Sonshabiga, that Lamrim. That's on you Jimden, you soon big church, Chazan, that the Hennibo through Dubenal, Yamlenji Jimbadi, that Lamrim said to Shabare. Chazan that Jerimuchigi, and a gaso Lamdre, that Lamdre now, Sonora. It's not that Lamdrengi, Din and Marjawachen, Jerimuchigi, and Lamrim Chempo, Jings, and the Lamrim Dudian Saji, that Lamrim Chumos and Ara, Lamrim Dudians and Diniki, Sum Rimba Sum Sonora. Chesa didn't that amount of dealing. That Jeremicheki, that Lamrim Lamion so be Yamlin Jetanki, Rimba de Pa, Sig Nunje, Duembe, Masi Gachimbo, Yimba Chile, Sig Nunjin and the Duje, and another Yamlenchi, Rimba Tension Biki, and Lamrim Dudu Sadi, and Digormashi.
Good morning. So today we are going to start to look at a new text, a text composed by one of the crown jewels of Tibet. And that's Geshe Rabten. He composed this short Lamrim text called the Song of Spiritual Experience. And it's in the Lamrim tradition, which was founded by Atisha. And Atisha composed his text, or taught what became the text, Lamp on the Path to Enlightenment. And from this sprung a unique tradition of the Lamrim, or the stages of the path to enlightenment. And Geshe Rabten composed several texts, would be the most extensive being that of the Lamrim Chömo, the great exposition on the stages of the path to enlightenment. So amongst the several texts on the Lamrim that Geshe Rabten composed, this was amongst one of the crown jewels in the land of snows. And he thereafter also composed an abbreviated version of this, the middling Lamrim, and he later composed the shortest version, the short Lamrim, or as we have it here, the actual translation, that of the Song of Spiritual Experience. So this is very short, it's just 45 verses, but within this brief number of words, the entire vast meaning of the Lamrim, as expressed in the Lamrim Chömo, is combined here in this short text. So whilst the text before you is comprised of just a few verses, the meaning contained within there is profound and deep.
Sanyu Jeremichiki Zomshepe de Pueros Mandane Jobye Yore, Tama Jobye Yore, Dina de Takibusumgi, Lamgi Rimba, Yamlin Jetan, or Sonshepe, Pusum Chagor, Limrim Chembos, the Jingsiada, and the Limrim Duty said, all those in the Son idea.
Geshe Rabten, amongst his many incomparable accomplishments, was a prolific author, and his texts that he composed have been combined into 18 volumes. And within these, he composed many texts within the Lamrim tradition. And the Lamrim tradition is unique in that it is organized in accordance with the practices that are in accordance with beings of three varying capacities.
And I took it in the Nilam Yamlenche Town for Sungore, China, Dineza, Tangarazu, Tiasa, that Zembulia, Chidane, that near Nazata, Marajik, Zembule, Chineta, Marajik Mita Mambu, near Yuangi, Etchigi, Ganga Chetikan, and then she and Mambu Ngorwa, and Dimase, and then Chige, Chige, their Karsore, Tachike, Namshi Kudo Tone, and Namshi Kudo Tone, Ganga Mambu Tigoro. And that did never Delia, Zemlina, Chasan Capti, go with Nancy Sadiki, Naziti, Gangajmi Mongolia, Gangatia, Simakiva Chayana, that Deniki Mongosh Chagore, Dini Zadam, in Tizuchazan, that Gares in Judan, Kim, Mebala Jumas Kamar, Judan, Chile, Duni, or Juba Ganya Chatigore, 지사 되니 인자 당아 주기 되니기 동아 세야리야 당아 주 가리톤 두고 세나 주 셈바 셈바 냠린 삼로 땅제 삼부 규화 땅에 토네 아주 냠린 제제 아주 아니 디기 주야다 아니 지게 강아 세탑이야 아니 베진 제고고를 되니 인자 당아 디리 람림 이고 람림 디디니 고 셰요도 당아 되니기 토냐 안지 셈리야 디기 요야다 안두가 세야레 다데 내가불이야 셈리 시대 요야레 아니 몽바나야 아직 디기 주야게 규사고래 안 디토르야 아주기 안지야디라 게시고 차거와
The second unique feature of the Lamrim tradition, the first being that it's divided in accordance with the trainings of beings of three varying capacities. And the second is that this is the actual sequence to train one's mind in to become enlightened. So the actual graduated sequence is presented clearly in this tradition. So now we find ourselves in a situation where, once again, those of us who have an interest in the Dharma teachings can only access them via the internet. Once again, we are isolated in our homes. So we're here now in a situation that, for most of us, is being experienced for the first time in our lives, where there is a global pandemic, where we are confined to our homes so as to protect ourselves, our loved ones, and others too. And we are very aware that in the world at the moment there's a lot of fear and anxiety due to perhaps two primary causes that are most widely spread, one being this pandemic, the second also being that of global warming. So these are two grave situations in the world now, and these we are aware of. Within that, though, let's always remember that there are beings who are suffering, beings who are in fear and pain, and not just because of these two global situations, but there are so many other sufferings that beings are experiencing right now. Sufferings arising from mental anxiety, suffering relating to their physical situation, such as impoverishment or poor health. So there's a lot of pain in the world. And all of this, without exception, comes about in dependence on causes and conditions. All of it, without exception. So therefore, wanting to bring about change in the world, we need to put our emphasis on our inner transformation. And the Buddha Dharma presents a complete and unmistaken path to transform our way of thinking, to transform our inner world. And through developing a myriad of minds such as love and compassion and the good heart, we can achieve happiness and overcome suffering. And in this way, through our own spiritual development, we create causes that lead to happiness for ourselves and have an impact on others too. Through training in the various practices laid out here in the Lamrim or in the Buddha Dharma in general, we start to transform our way of thinking through developing the suitable causes and conditions. And in this way, we start to have a more peaceful mind, a mind less disturbed, less agitated. So that's a temporary benefit. But through these causes, we are ensuring that our spiritual progression will go well from life to life, and thereby bring about the achievement of lasting, stable happiness. And all through this progression of spiritual development, we can be sure that our impact on others will be beneficial and help aid them accumulate the causes for happiness too.
shukso da din ma dangbo sonya de jerum chige dangbo cha cha wa se de cha che di dangbo sul cha cha che go sen demba san yu jemne de ya cha che wa re jesa da demba san yu jemne de la cha che go bi gimje ga re la na dang a ju ge nangba sang gi bi gi chue ge za wa go dangbo da ga so re ga wa de ya ane go dangbo chu ya de ande sen ba sang yu jemne ju wa re jesa a ju ge 최기 냠렌제 냠렌교 공도서 자와데다 덴바상여 좀 된데래 제사다 덴바상여 좀 된데데 하나 줄이야 din chenpo da gedin chenpo shu in za da sangye jumlen di ji ani ya dangbo cha se wa re jirim.
As always, the text starts with prostrations. So prostration is an expression of homage or salutation from the depths of one's heart in recognition of the great kindness that the beings to whom one prostrates have shown us, as well as a recognition of their incomparable qualities. So our text here, the Song of Spiritual Experience, starts with expressing homage to Buddha Shakyamuni. And the reason why prostration is offered first and foremost to Buddha Shakyamuni is he is the founder teacher of the Buddha Dharma in our world. It was only through his incomparable kindness over eons of mental transformation that he achieved the state of enlightenment for our sake. And compelled by his incomparable compassion, he thereafter taught the complete and unmistaken path to us. And therefore, with this recognition, with deep sincerity, we offer homage, we offer prostration to Buddha Shakyamuni.
Ana 제일 문제 그런 게 다음에 전바상에 좀 된디기 최려야 안 롭정주 균링부야 아니 지금 롭정주 곰 될이야 상이 좀 된디 최려야 퇴바 먹고 퇴바지 안 퇴비 되는라 야네 양도 삼다 되네게 퇴비 되는 삼다나 하고 비 되는라 곰 냠len지 곰 냠len지 비기 아니 상이 좀 된디 가서 곰 냠len 제바 인자 나 제일 문제 그런 게 냠용을 토네 람 상이 좀 된디기 그든 간에 짱구여 봐다 상이 좀 내게 최 가르 숨구여 봐 되니게 된 가르여 봐 아니 되니게 양아주기 두샤 아니 셈잼 레 판도 간지 주여 봐또 차상한테 캔네 아니 제르미시게 템바 좀 된디기베 그든 친구 쇼리에서 그든 지수 템비 돈에 아니 자세 와래
Rinpoche, when he composed this text, had already engaged in extensive hearing of teachings, reflection and meditation on these over many, many, many decades. He spent his entire life from a very young age, always seeking out teachings on all the topics of the Buddha Dharma, and from the moment he heard those teachings, throughout each day, month and year, he would continuously engage in reflecting on these teachings. When the opportunities would come, he would meditate and retreat on these teachings too. And he did so with great vigor and great joy over his entire expanse of his life up to this point. Through this process, he had already experienced tremendous spiritual transformation. He'd come to understand at a profound level the deep innermost meaning of the Buddha Dharma across all the topics. And through this, he had experienced transformation. And moreover, this transformation included having become greatly skilled in being able to benefit others, in being able thereby to fulfill the meaning of the Dharma, which is not just to benefit a few fortunate beings, but it's to be cultivated within one to the fullest extent, so that we can be of greatest benefit to all. Having become skilled like this, the Geshe Rinpoche here is offering with great sincerity from the depths of his heart homage or salutation to the founder teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni.
Dene zada 제일 먼저 그런 게 상주 점된디게 손시 비기 최래 퇴바제 삼바제 아니 곰 냠len제 소소랑랑 게다 냠len제 비기 소소규래 냠용 토네 지상 상주 점된디게 최들이야 냠len제 바이나 두수수 제오래 데네 제바이나 아는가 줄이야 똑베 연된된데 동화세야다 디기주여 죽투가 데네 제오래 네 냠len 데네 제바인 다 경험도 마음반에 경험도 야난 탈바 탐지키면 상요고봉 톱을 되비기 되버 유현서 냠는 두 제쇼세 마마들 납치해야 돼. 납치하고 와다 디기 룸룸 뒤된자야 돼.
And it's with this arisal of heartfelt gratitude that not only did Geshe Rinpoche offer a salutation and homage here to the Buddha, but this heartfelt gratitude that has arisen independent on his experience of the Buddha Dharma, this experience that had come from years of hearing teachings, reflecting on them, and meditating on the profundity of their meaning, so that had arisen in a transformative way within him. Having realized the truth of the Dharma, the validity of the Dharma, he was inspired not only to offer homage to the Buddha, but to compose this text from his own experience. And as we'll see as we go through this text, Geshe Rinpoche is repeatedly saying, this is how I have lived my life. And through living my life in this way, I have completely transformed myself. I am sharing this with you now, with sincerity, so that you can follow my example. And I can assure you, through following my example, you too will transform yourselves. You too will spiritually transform yourselves into a great being. So this text is a very personal text that Geshe Rinpoche has composed. It's a text based on his experience that has arisen within him through years of hearing, reflecting, and meditating.
Geshe Rinpoche tenpa sangye jumne de la cha chiri ko lo ganis cha chewa re la na da sangye jumne di gu yu yuan de an sung gu yu yuan de tu yu yuan de je ku sung tu sum ge yuan de jian xie an de le ya ku sung tu yuan de yu gon de an de bi de na an cha chewa re je re.
The manner in which prostration is offered to Buddha Shakyamuni is through offering salutation or homage to the qualities of the Buddha's body, the qualities of the Buddha's speech, and the qualities of the Buddha's mind. So these are recalled, and then prostration is offered.
Adambo chasewe chiti tenpa sangye jumne de la ku sung tu sum yu gon de da yuan de ju bi gon de cha chewa di re da punzo ge le jun yu jun bi gu ta yu zhu yu re wa gong yu sung ma lu xie xie qi xin si bi tu ne xia ge zuo de la gu cha sa se di re.
And the expression of prostration to the qualities of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind is presented in the first verse. Your body is created from 1 billion perfect factors of goodness. Your speech satisfies the yearnings of countless sentient beings. Your mind perceives all objects of knowledge exactly as they are. I bow my head to you, O chief of the Shakya clan.
Adambo na punzo ge le jun yu jun bi gu xie de san yu jun ne di gu yu yuan de ju bi gu ne an ya an san yu jun ne de le cha se wa re. Ji zhen da san yu jun ne di gu yu yuan de chu yang de san yu jun ne di gu di gan de xi yo re lab na ji gu di san yu jun ne gu di an ga so re chan sang bo sum je zan ye da bi xie sang bo ji ju de ne gi jian de ba. An san yu jun ne di gu di su jewa ina jewa zambi pe deba rangwa me ba jewa dang an di jewa de sem jigi semli ya shidi yong ya dang an su su rang jing semli ya jamje yong ya an sin jigi sang ye ge o dang ya de ne ge sang ye gu sang ye na xie chung na sem bi ge deba dunyo yong ya ge de ne ge xian ge an semli ya dewa de ya dang xian ge semli ya an jigi chue la deba ge ya chue dunyo ge dunba ge ya jamje ge ya an Bendigo ane sanyi gu yuan den de la sanyi gu jewa zamgi an cha sa de ne yong go le je de la che sa sanyi gu yuan den de ne je che gu si de su gu xi go su gu liang a mi je ya yu ga su gu xi go ba che sa gu yuan den se de su gu xi go che sa su yu tong na je yong de na ne zhen de ya xi de ge ya da an de ba ge ya 안 취재하게 되는 게 진짜 산이 구세대 다른 거 저기 수구리 시거래 투세대면 최고세 투고 나려와 투 송세대 구송 투시죠 다들 구유연대에서 수구유연대 시거와.
The first line, your body is created from 1 billion perfect factors of goodness. So here, Geshe Rinpoche is offering prostration to the qualities of the Buddha's body. The qualities of the Buddha's body are marked by the various marks and signs, but moreover, Geshe Rinpoche is offering homage here, recognizing that whomever merely sees a statue of the Buddha, independent on seeing just an illustration an image of the Buddha's body, the mind becomes peaceful, mind becomes pacified, and faith in the Buddha arises within them. So here, seeing or understanding the benefits of merely seeing a representation of the Buddha's body, great faith also arises within Rinpoche, and commitment that he too wants to perfect all good qualities within him so that he can become a Buddha for the sake of others, and that he too can have the greatest beneficial impact on the minds of others. So therefore, with a wish to perfect all good qualities, he offers homage here to the body of the Buddha. A living example we have is that of His Holiness. So if we're receiving teachings from him, or maybe even just see a photograph, immediately, independent on seeing his holy body, our mind becomes pacified, becomes peaceful, and virtuous minds such as faith naturally arise within us. And this happens merely upon seeing him. For example, if he's teaching, and these days we turn the computer on and we see him, immediately joy arises. Our mind becomes peaceful and pacified.
다시 마리바 세셔 대상 다시 마리바 빵고도 디파야라 다음에 뭐 동방이 또 베셔랍데 아니 곰도 마도 빵토야 말했으네 그 동방이 또 베셔를 잡아진 동방이 곰 대야다 동이 곰이야 대야 레 멍부 또 이제 살 멍부도 쓰네 로마 로 멍부다 될이야 제와라기도 로 제와세다 로봄 제와세다 멍부 시우차기로 와 근데 밀레 멍부 차기로 되니게 까와다 되네 멍부 시고 곰 안 디곰발레든다 되니기 곰여 동요 곰여도 되네 심제 탐제 둥하다 자고 제가 내 지키 집에 장주쌤도 투게데 장주쌤게 되네 장주쌤 발라 장주쌤 곰 아니 되니기 장주쌤 곰베 토네 어두스네 곰제네 진비에 냠레 추제니네 수비에 냠레 준주에 냠레 삼제 셔라 어두스네 잠니지 되니게 파진 주게 냠레디게 제시데야 안지 안지 로망비링리야 이제 개호 풍송 촉바세다 상지고 권주의 교 풍송 촉바디서 아니 로망비를 야로 지와망부 곰제 까와망부 곰제네 두제네 gombe sunam yu cho sunam ne shi yu cho sa ba la dene ane sa yi ku dene ge yuen den yue kan ku dene jin tu ba re yu de so la dene tu ba re se wo da.
As we see in the first line, the body of a Buddha was created from 1 billion perfect factors of goodness. So the purpose of the term created is to show that Buddha Shakyamuni was not always a Buddha. Buddha Shakyamuni was once an ordinary being just like ourselves. But the term created shows that through accumulating the full and complete causes and conditions, he was able to transform himself from being an ordinary being just like ourselves into a being that is quite extraordinary. And he did so through using his intelligence, investigating, analyzing. He started by coming to know what is meant by cyclic existence vividly and without any lack of clarity, without any doubt. He came to see that cyclic existence has no essence. There's nothing worthy of striving for within cyclic existence. Any happiness that one experiences whilst being bound in cyclic existence will fade and will lead to further suffering being experienced. Any problem or difficulty that is overcome as long as one is bound in cyclic existence, that problem that one has now just overcome will be immediately followed by more. There is no lasting peace in cyclic existence, and he came to realize this. And through realizing this, he turned his back on cyclic existence. He made his mind, in this way, vast and expansive. No longer was his mind dominated by achieving mundane happiness and overcoming small insignificant problems. Rather, he had his attention fixated on achieving good rebirths and eventually liberation from suffering. Moreover, Buddha Shakyamuni expanded the breadth of his awareness to encompass all others. Through having come to recognize the suffering experience that is samsara in terms of his own experience, he then related that to others, seeing how all other ordinary beings too are trapped and bound in cyclic existence and suffering in pain, lost and in darkness. In this way, he took the confidence and strength that had arisen within him through making his mind vast and expansive, which had come about through committing to achieve liberation. He took this vast and expansive mind and embraced all others, cultivating love and compassion for all others, and generating the mind of bodhicitta the commitment to strive for enlightenment for their sake, for the sake of all others. Now, with this vast and expansive mind, the Buddha trained in bodhicitta for countless eons. And the term that we have here as 1 billion refers to both the good qualities and the expanse of time, such as 1 billion years, 1 billion lifetimes. Always focused on striving to become a Buddha for the sake of others. And in this training in bodhicitta, the being that was to become Buddha Shakyamuni was focused on the causes of the suffering of all beings, which is the contaminated karma accumulated by their afflicted minds with the ignorance of self-grasping at its very root. Recognizing this, the Buddha strove to develop the wisdom-realizing emptiness within himself for two reasons: so that he could attain liberation from suffering and enlightenment, and thereby become the most skilled of guides for the sake of others. And secondly, through becoming the most skilled of guides, he could thereby guide others based on his unmistaken experience. So therefore, his wish to attain freedom is for others. He made great effort here in meditating on reality, seeing how all phenomena, self and other, are all empty of inherent existence. In this way, he cultivated the wisdom realizing emptiness and accumulated billions of perfect factors of goodness over an immeasurable expanse of time. In training in this way, he accumulated the two accumulations, that of merit and wisdom, through cultivating first the mind of definite emergence and then conjoining that with bodhicitta, and through all the practices of a bodhisattva, such as love and compassion and patience, generosity, ethics, and the like. He accumulated the accumulation of merit. And whilst meditating on all of these various topics, he kept in mind that all phenomena are empty of inherent existence. No phenomena exists in the way that it appears, which is inherently, but is empty of such an existence. And thereby was also able to accumulate the second accumulation, that of wisdom. In this way, over a vast expanse of time, the Buddha achieved the perfected form of an enlightened being. And such a being, homage is being offered to here.
Kawa mambo sonam dai shi cho sa je cho phusum cho ba sa ni drup de je resha deni za sang ye gu deni ge yende gu di pe ma si be za chen bo shu ji da ga sen yu ba do me ba ya bo shi ge wi cho ne kawa ba do me ba drup je ne gu di drup ba yin za gu di pe ma si be da za chen bo shi na ge chen bo shu ji resha sen be ge da deni ge ngang zo ge sang ye jum ne de deni ge gu deni ge 제여 받다 되니기 토네 아니 뱀마세 가와서 보시우리 선에 제르미지 상이 좀는 디기 꿀야시 되는 이네 꾸이 줍탕가 연된 디기 파는 섬다이도 되니기 대소에는 ben에 녀만에 제 잠니제 자주 샘 파진 두게 냠는 가와바도 메바 제데 디수 차상 랑자 샘진 아주 돈달이야 아주 둥아세야 데 디기 두게 돈달이야 냠는 제시 두신의 강 냠는로 빠도 메고 줍지는 그 되니기 꾸야고 demasiado cultura de Jerecha, tiene demasiado sache mora que den chimo shure, sem dingi, that sanyo jimnen di kuyu yende dembi thone, nen deba yeje nen gustushene chasewa kuyu yende jubi kone chasewa sa disigore.
The body of a Buddha is achieved, as we see here, over a billion lifetimes through the accumulation of a billion or billions of different causes, through billions of different practices, one can say. And therefore, because of this vast number of causes accumulated through such profound practices, the result that it leads to is incomparable. And therefore, with such an incomparable result of which the essence is all of these perfect good qualities, such a body is worthy of homage, of prostration. And Geshe Rinpoche here, in the very first line, is offering prostration.
다데네 다 숭구고네 되바데레 다 상유 점내네 요 숭데 가르레 람나 다디 숭고라 타여 주의 라와 공유 숭스 타여 주의 라와 공유 숭스데 다 상유 점내네 숭데 가르레 간시스네 타예베 셈젠스라 타예 주화사 타예베 셈젠디게 라와 가르 겨고르스네 셈젠 차상 셈젠 간지 이네 차사 대화디레와 요 소소 디기지로 주나 셈면 대화디고래 대화디고래 아니 dunga di mewa chawa na sambe dunga jawa di gor chesa rewa kya dunga jadu ge rewa dang digi du ge rewa dire chesa simjan thamji gi digi duya digi rewa dang dunga jadu ge rewa di ane di se ya la sang yu jumne di sungki tablam naso tone and sanyo jumne digi sung che that gete shidon pa meba de kamda dushi kamda meba da samba da tumbi tone and so ralia dunga se da digi tubegi and tablam sung she bi che sung she bi sung yang ya re ma do sanye sung de le ya xian le pemba meba da de ni gyune ba gedi na ga ne sung be ne xian le ya dunga se da xian yi digi tubegi tablam sung bi gi sung yang ya cha de re ji re.
Qualities of the spiritual Buddha are offered prostration in the second line. Your speech satisfies the yearnings of countless sentient beings. And what are the yearnings of countless sentient beings, including, of course, ourselves? That is to experience happiness. Happiness beyond what we have experienced. Happiness that is lasting and is stable and never interrupted by a moment of suffering or pain. And to achieve this happiness, the yearnings of beings includes complete and irreversible freedom from suffering and pain and misery. This is our deep innermost yearning, not just of ourselves, but of all humans and non-humans, of all beings. And to fulfill, to satisfy this deep innermost yearning, the Buddha taught vast number of teachings. And these teachings were taught perfectly in accordance with a wide variety of personalities and karmic predispositions of beings. And thereby, because the Buddha was able to teach perfectly in accordance with the varying complexities of the individual karmic backgrounds of beings, every teaching he gave perfectly suited beings, and thereby beings could train and transform their way of thinking, leading to the state of lasting happiness. And in fact, for a Buddha, everything that they do is an illustration of skillful means, in that it's perfectly suited to the individual disposition and inclinations of beings. And therefore, every act of a Buddha is there to benefit others.
Rewa gong si de rewa gong wa labde gong labde rewa juba si go rewa juba si go. Chesang sangye jemnen di yu sung la dine semjen tamje digi de ba da dunga ge rewa chi go res. Chesang rewa gong si de semjen sangye jemnen digi dine ge nganzu dunga se ya na digi duye ge tablam sung sha ba di tue je 대리야 냠린 제제 안디 제발라 때네 semjen 망보 안에 상여 고파 토해기 톱kai 뭐 중요해. 세상 자와 공화공한테 자와 공화래. 된다. 그래서 미유 대기 주의하기 땡기 대기 주의하기 되바디 주고 주바레스. 안디나신 안에 semjen 망보 안에 탈배 고파 토야. 다 상여 고파 탈바 자준 받아 토야다. 되네 안에 람 냠네제 자주 셈규라게 람유는 람규라게 되네기 안에 망보 중요해. 세월 녀마 되네 망보 중요해. 안에 망바이네야 되노 되네게 냠는 제발에 상이 좀 내디 송디 퇴발에 되네 냠는 제발에 되네 탈바다 탐지기며 고마토가 람 냠는 람귤에 끼제 또보귤에 끼 망보 연구레스 안 다디 이네야 안 되네게 냠는 제다 제신바 되네 또보귤에 끼라 제신바 되네게 안 상 탈바다 탐지기며 고바 토신바 망보 요라 제사 상이 송일에 되네 디기 주야다 동아세게 저와 되네게 공도게 저와 주되게 빠도 매봐 요래지래.
To fulfill the yearnings of beings, the Buddha taught the Dharma. And from the moment that he started turning the wheel of Dharma until now, so many beings have heard these teachings and engage in a process of reflecting and meditating, in other words, training their mind on these teachings. This is the crucial path to follow, the crucial technique to engage in, to keep hearing teachings and training one's mind continuously in them. And through this process, from his very first teaching up to now, innumerable beings, through going through this process, have cultivated mental paths, and through developing them further, they have achieved great qualities, such as liberation from suffering. Others have developed bodhicitta, been counted amongst the children of the Buddhas, and have enacted the deeds of the Buddhas, helping others alongside the Buddhas in the world. Under the influence of bodhicitta, they too have achieved liberation and taken that further to full and complete enlightenment, always helping others. So fulfilling the hopes of beings has come about through teaching, and not only that, but beings hearing those teachings and then training in them. And in this way, all the various good qualities of the Buddha Dharma are developed within the continuum of so many beings.
That's something rewa. That rewa la, and something kashila sanji ko mo toku sembe rewa, kashin tarba toku sembe rewa, kashin lam gule kyo de rewa, and kashin angan zugi denige lamda denesam, madana kashin kyewa chima hada miu ko toku sembe rewa. And then denige some damana sedelia, Adunga said, Digi said, Use Yung Ku sembe rewa, Mangorwada, Deneza, denige sanji sungla dene, chasan dus tubores. Beneda, Digi Tarbada Tamjekamba, and Denikewa Chimagel had a mew or Kovan Toyagi, Tablam, Sanji Sula, the Tablam, Denige, Yamsule, Kewachima, Miko, top to it. And Denige, men and said Dele some time in said digging to get that needs so dewa deba the Duma Midway, the Inza, Sanju Jimnedic, Sula, Dene, Jamze, Yamlen Jetan, and the survey Yamlen Jetan. And Jimbe Yamlen Jetan, Surum Soya, or two said Dele in a social Sanji, soon Dele Dene, Kajang, the Luna using Yajotim, Surum Soya, Seva Comiata, Jamze, Yamlen Cheban, said Dele in a social Dunga Seata, Digi the Ungur, Chesana, the Dewa Deba, the Dunga Midibasa, said Dele in a social Digi, Ungur, Java Conva, said Dele in a social Dunga. Chung Tatu, just Dunga Midibi, Rava Conva. Chesa Sanji, soon Della Dene, that didn't also come down, Meba, Gasa Soso, Nubal Babegi, Sosu Digi to be down, and the Dunga Sayadi, to go. Chesa Dene Sanji soon, the Nigget Achimo, Nazolia, getting Chimbo, which is more.
In dependence on hearing the teachings of the Buddha and reflecting and meditating on them, beings give rise to a variety of aspirations. Some yearn merely for a good rebirth. They have developed a determination not to fall in the lower realms in the next rebirth and yearn for a good rebirth. Others who have come to see the faults of cyclic existence vividly have given rise to a yearning for liberation, for freedom from suffering in its entirety. And still others who have generated bodhicitta within their continuum, or aspire to do so, yearn for enlightenment. And thereby, through following the teachings of the Buddha, cultivating them within themselves, the Buddha has been able to satisfy those yearnings through those beings achieving their desired goals of a good rebirth, of liberation and enlightenment itself for the sake of others. But moreover, those who have just the mere wish for happiness in this life, who haven't been able yet to develop an expansive enough thought so that their sincere motivation is directed beyond this life, even for them, such a yearning is fulfilled by the teachings of the Buddha. Because through training in love, in compassion, through training one's mind in ethical restraint, in generosity, in patience, through training one's mind in this way, happiness in this life is also achieved. So therefore, the Buddha taught this expansive Buddha Dharma because of the vast variety of dispositions and inclinations of beings. And he needed thereby to give all this great variety of teachings so that as to fulfill this vast variety of yearnings within beings.
That's on you, Jim. Shumeva in a Sanyu Junet, you sung di, that you in the sung di shudi, just that Sanyu sung you in the Peje, Che Yamlecha, Sanyu sung, Tela, Den Yamlecha, Yeva, Denigi Bema, Sanyu sung di, that's Archimota, getting Chimbo Shuji Benham, Shuji Nuba, Chimbo Shuji Reshas, that the young and the new young, you got ready the Juarez in it. Digi Dambo Punzo Kelechum Juma said Chagur Chesa, one Lamye, Loba Lamye Negaso, and Semja Tamji Tandalea, Jam Nijikom, and the Jashu Sem De, and the Paji to Yamlenje, and the Chigi, Denigi, and Mongobana, Denigi Shanlia, Pando Drutu, Nuba, Denio Shos, Molam Java, Denigi, Gewapado, Meba, and Ya Chik, Denigi. Gewapato meba sapala tini jungwa chire mato dagas ane yunghaya kyunde yungbar chizang ngarang zuki mishandaki sungdang kishiya sung tina sangye chumde sungli ya nyuba chini yueba di chizang tini ki gewe chao punsum tsoba pe goye chasang changwa tenya yaku shu tenya lo mangbu nani gawa mangbu drubne ane tini ki drubdi ki tini ki tsoksa drubjang jebala tini drubi sung chiri yasa.
The second group of qualities of the Buddha, that of his speech, that prostration is being offered to here, is of supreme importance in that it's through the Buddha having taught, through the Buddha's speech, that Geshe Rinpoche and all the masters before him and all those who've come after him, as well as ordinary beings such as ourselves, have the ability or have the opportunity to spiritually develop our minds, to train our minds. And in fact, all the spiritual progression that has come about within ourselves and these other great beings is due to the Buddha having taught the perfect and complete stages to enlightenment. So here the second line ties in with the first line, in that it's the speech of the Buddha that has satisfied the yearnings of countless sentient beings by leading to them developing within themselves, through training their minds, through the techniques of the speech of the Buddha, through developing 1 billion perfect factors of goodness within themselves. So here we can understand this expression in the first line of 1 billion perfect factors of goodness. These are all the good qualities that beings generate in themselves through hearing and reflecting and meditating on the teachings, qualities such as the commitment, the definite commitment to emerge from cyclic existence and attain freedom. The qualities such as love and compassion. The other good factors such as bodhicitta and the wisdom realizing emptiness. All of these come about in dependence on the speech of the Buddha.
Adine tula, that Sanji Jemnendiki Tuki and the Dubicone Chaza Sawar, that two Garsene, Malu Sheja Chishin Sibi took Siltada, Malu Sheja Chishin Sibi took Ledu, Malu is that Shejiki Chu Namla, Chasan or Chasan Gandichinas or Malu Sheja, that Shejiki Chu Kunzu Dang and the singing Ludushaban, Kunzu de Bada Dona de Benamshasura, Chasan Kunzubi Chu Telia. Jidang 저기 수 tradilaso bada diniki jik bene kam sum siada nyawa ida durasa jisugi mangboche ji yewache an dinale dinashinda lam nyamle lam gi rimba du kunzubi lam gi rimba nyamle je thang cholam cholam thonglang sa jamni je rimbe nyam lam gi nyamle rimba kunzubi che namsha kane jine an chasa sibares Dinajin Dundambi Che Namsha, Tomba Yin Namsha, Dame Bat Tarala Sopa Denicane, China Chasan Sibares, Chasan Monsum Sibares, Chang the Toba, some Toba Dele, Monsum Tobata, and the Tobe Toba Sengura, Dina San Yachum Nandiki, Monsum Doje, Chasan, Lakwe Nalia, Jik. Jala dus Tonga Nashi, Monsum Sigore, the nigger San Yi Monsum Sigore, Chizan San Yi Monsum Ziba in the Shanlia, Kamdang, Weba, Samba, Kolia, Nanzulia, Chekanistena, Pando Che to Duzikanich, Pando Che, the Karit in the Yagayungu, got the Nijin call it Digi to Yagayunga, the Dunga Sea, the Yagayung, Tablam Chaza, Kingo, Chazan Makimba Yomare, Chazan San Yigi, 2 years, and then the shore, Regere.
And turning to the third line, where prostration is offered by Geshe Rinpoche, to the mental qualities of the Buddha. Your mind perceives all objects of knowledge exactly as they are. The term translated as all expresses all without exception. So everything that exists is known by the Buddha. And known exactly as they are means known directly, realized directly, not realized inferentially. So therefore, being realized directly, known in a way that is unmistaken, without any slight taint of error, every phenomenon is known perfectly. And objects of knowledge, then, we can understand as everything that exists, whether conventional truths or ultimate truths. So here we can think of conventional truths such as the objects of the senses, things we hear, we see, we touch, throughout the three realms, as well as all mental phenomena. So all objects of thought, as well as including those virtuous ones of the paths. So minds such as loving kindness and compassion and generosity. All of these are included in conventional truths, and these are known perfectly, in an unmistaken manner, directly by the Buddha, as well as then the ultimate truth, the empty nature of all phenomena, that no phenomenon exists inherently. So both of these truths are known simultaneously and perfectly by the Buddha. And why this is so important is because of the conventional and ultimate truths, in other words, all phenomena being known perfectly by the Buddha in every moment, he is able to benefit beings perfectly in accordance with their own individual karmic backgrounds and spiritual dispositions. And thereby, his skillful means is also perfect, is beyond compare. And therefore, everything that he does, not only is it for the benefit of others, but it is the most beneficial way to benefit others. With this understanding, prostration is offered to the mind of the Buddha.
dine zada sangye jumnen digi tu dele ya ane jige makhenpa sade da chue kanya makhenpa yo mares gyun chasang semgile gyun chasang gun meba sue so gyun chasang se meba sue dine yenden yirikda chingwa chasang khenpa kyan yarima di makhenpa sa kanya meya chasang chue tam je ngosumdo dokpa da dokpa tarchimbare dile lhaba da doyagel gyunel hayo mares chasang tarchimbare so da chasang sangye tu dine res.
With all phenomena without exception being known, this is only possible by a mind for whom, on one hand, all faults have been completely eradicated, leaving not even the slightest trace of a single fault, but completely, perfectly eradicated. Moreover, in conjunction, all good qualities have been developed. And not just developed to a great extent, but to an extent of perfection, of complete perfection. So therefore, a Buddha is a being that is perfected. Perfected meaning nothing is better, nothing is surpassable. The Buddha's qualities are unsurpassable because they have been developed to a state of perfection, as well as all faults having been completely eradicated, and thereby all phenomena are known.
Da sangye jumnen digi tugi yunden dine yonggoba diya gyudan kien meba la chung yomba zina gyudan kien le tinto chungware chizan gyudan kien ni kari tinto chungware labna chizan deji nye le sheba nanji punzo ke le chungwe sayadi tazi ngwe loba lamye nekabla ya pa chik jeba che ane ko jeba che dine yu diya tseme ngeba nye dun yungo yu yungo yu nisu kante yinba tseme ngeba nye dine ngeba nye we tele ya gom jab tu chene da diya lo mangbo tongra mangbo tani chik kawa mangbo yu gom jab che suenam yu tsuwa da yeshi yu tsuwa sa tu gom jab che gom jab ki tar tu yu jebu de la ane sanji ku tu ki ane yun de dine shik yuwa re sayade o du sungwa re.
The qualities of the Buddha's mind, just like all the other points here, came about in dependence on causes and conditions. And so what are these causes and conditions? We see them in the first line. Billions of perfect factors of goodness. So these were cultivated by the Buddha, and in this way he achieved the state of perfection. He achieved the state of perfection through developing these billions of perfect factors of goodness by using his intelligence, investigating, analyzing. What was he analyzing? All the various topics of the path, all the various topics that will be presented in this text, coming to develop all the conventional truths within himself, such as the qualities of the path, such as the mind of definite emergence, love, compassion, and so forth, as well as developing the wisdom, realizing emptiness, the ultimate truth within himself. So cultivating these two, the first group of inner qualities lead to the accumulation of merit. The second, that of the wisdom realizing emptiness, leads to the accumulation of wisdom. These two, accumulated together over countless lifetimes, led to the achievement of becoming a perfected being and being able to know all objects of knowledge perfectly and thereby being of greatest benefit to others.
Dini zada jerem chigi sangye jumlen digi gui yende sung gu da sung da tu digi be ze yenden chenpo za chenpo ngang zulya dini gi yinba de an deyang an yuan gi gyudi be masigi kawa pado mebe gi ton da jam ni je jaju sem dongba ni to be sherap da dini gi nyamlen gi rimba kare jewan chasang ma changwa meba changwa je an punsun choba dini기 냠len 제발에 되는 중화 제샤 diniza 상여 줌len 되기도 전에 가 상여 줌len 유 구송 투수미 연대 구송 투수미 연대 주의의 율파 삼다 제대 제수 차상 아주 심전 탐 제디기 주의의 동화세에게 된다라 안에 상이게 냠len 제 되는 냠len 진에 타르친 냠len 제 타르친에 아주려 최 되는 송비게 되는 구송도 연대 빠도 매바 마세 개진 첨부 슈 지그레샤 선비기다 샤기기 샤기 조어들라 괴샤사 세데 데니기 샤기기 릭샤기 릭소 총비기 안조 세데 가조 야 심제 동아세야단 디기 주비기 람 뜀바바니 나네 다 뜀바이 나네 뜀바 약쇼 조어스데 랍 초도 교바세 조어세데 다 데니기 동아 심제 디기 주야단 디기 세야기 탑람 뜀켄게 나네 뜀바 초도 교바 야다 샤기 릭소 총비기다 데니기 샤게 토발이야 안에 데니게 고숨 구비고네 안에 차책이 나 결혼그 구송 투숨이 연대 디나시지 알아야 주버쇼 데니게 결혼기 구송 투숨 두개 연대 냠는 제게 촉사 집장 데니게 빠도메 주버 니나지 녜자 데니게 제토쇼 와선비게 다템바선 요즘네 구송 두개 연대데 시방안에 대바제지도 예제 디나시지 알아야 용쇼 와선비게 데니지 나네 주차세 말이야 조세데 람 뜀버보 동아세야 당 디기 주에게 람 뜀버보 나네 조어레 약쇼레서 다정아 점리 나라데 뜀버 망보여로 와데니게 디나데 다 초도 규바 조어시데 약쇼 랍드레스
With all of this in mind, the qualities of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind, as well as the causes from which they came, and that these causes have been developed to this point of perfection, where the result was perfected, and that the being that became Buddha Shakyamuni had trained with incomparable vigor and commitment for a great expanse of time for the benefit of others, for the benefit of all others, both known to him and unknown, right up and including ourselves. With this in mind, Geshe Rinpoche joins his palms together and offers prostration. But not only does he have this in mind, he also is recognizing the unique qualities of Buddha Shakyamuni, because Buddha Shakyamuni is the founder teacher in our world. It's only through his teaching of the Buddha Dharma, that his teaching and sharing his realizations that the Buddha Dharma exists in our world, the Buddha Dharma, the source of all goodness. And this is the meaning behind the word that we have here as chief. We can understand this as chief of the Shakya clan, or we can understand it as the founder teacher, the primary propounder, or the chief propounder of spiritual techniques that lead to happiness. So here, with the recognition of how incomparable the Buddha is, Geshe Rinpoche joins his palms together. And thirdly, this is a very personal, homage or prostration should be offered in a very personal manner, not just as a recognition of the qualities or the being, in this case Buddha Shakyamuni, that prostration is being offered to, but also with the aspiration that I will strive to become perfect, just like you. So prostration is offered here with a commitment to develop those self-same qualities within oneself to the self-same level of perfection. And this is how prostration is offered.
다 제르미치기 상유 줌nen디 구송 투숨기 연대다 구송 투숨기 연대 주비기 유 계속 개위 소사상 또 전에 안에 공부시에서 삼다 제바지 될리안 대바지 템바차 줌nen데래 차차 디 차차에도 나한줄이야 랍제 가르에 개고 거스는 제르미치 가르순 거스는 돈달 슈라 나한줄 가르 랍지 개고 거스는 지난 상유 줌nen디 구송 투숨 연대 되네 여바다 당보 호로네 되네게 요 말에서 나한줄다 찍바레스 지난 상유 줌nen디 구송 투숨 연대 되네게 용화디 가르치는 용화래라네 예만이야 아니 지금 샘제 탐지게 된다려 샘제 탐지래 아니 지금 잠제 공부야다 아니 잠바다 자와공 아니 동방이 또 배셔랍 냠nen제야 자바지 땡중의 남자 삼 동방이 또야당 되네 아니 자주 샘제야 아니 지금 받아 되네 지금 파신주 나서 받아 되네기 뭐 냠nen제네 구송 투수연된 주바래 저사 되네기 냠nen제바 있나 상유 줌nen디기 되네기 냠nen제네 구송 투수연된 되네 줍투고 거래 저사 나서이네 되네기 냠nen제바 있나 상유 줌nen디 구송 투수연된 예 되네기 연대 예비 구송 투수 나신지 나서이네 줍투고 거래 되네 현상 나저기 되네기 상유 줌nen디게 다데 되네기 냠nen제다 림바디 가서 예디바디 나신 정하서는 냠nen제가 되게 치무시 우리에서 나 랍샬라 돈다 상유 제림부치기 구송 투기 된 점nen디 구송 투기 연전 전배권에 쳐봐 제네 차세네 슈랑한서 랍샤 디게고르다.
The meaning behind the offering of prostration here is that Geshe Rinpoche is reminding us right at the outset of this very personal text that he composed that Buddha Shakyamuni, our perfect role model, wasn't always thus. He was once an ordinary deluded being just like us. But through training in the variety of practices that are presented here, presented in this text, through training his mind in all of these, he attained the state of perfection. In particular, coming to understand the nature of samsara, that it is in the nature of suffering, that there is no essence, nothing worthy of longing for. He generated the mind of definite emergence. And he did this through reflecting on suffering in relation to his own experience. Then, taking this knowledge and meditative experience, he applied it to others, generated love and compassion for all beings without exception, developed this to the point of bodhicitta arising in his continuum. And at this point, he continued in the trainings that he had already engaged in, but now there became perfections. There are 6 perfections of generosity, ethical restraint, patience, and so forth. And he also made great efforts here in the wisdom, cultivating the wisdom realizing emptiness, ensuring that that understanding was always present throughout all his various mental trainings. So this is how Buddha Shakyamuni trained. That entire, complete path is presented here by Je Rinpoche for us. So therefore, we too can transform ourselves from this very ordinary state into the state of a Buddha. This is within our hands. It's not beyond us. So therefore, in this first verse, Je Rinpoche is saying to us, take the advice that is offered in this text as personal advice and live your life in accordance with what is presented here. In the second verse, homage is now offered to Maitreya and to Manjushri. You are the most excellent sons of such peerless teacher. You carry the burden of the enlightened activities of all conquerors, and in countless realms you engage in a display of emanations. I pay homage to you, O Maitreya and Manjushri.
Semje dunga se ya na digi druwe ge tablam tenghen ge nane da domba sangye chumden de be chodu gyubaje chesa sangye chumden de le de da odi jigbare la ken yune yo mar jenda yo mares chesa dembe damya ba domba chodu gyuba domba sangye chumden de res lamding di da domba dene ge domba chodu gyuba digi ane segi sele ya ane kaso loma mason da 냠네 디 제소라네 냠네 지겐 빠도 매바 용거레스 르망고요레 디 나네 야다 디 나네 세기 초 약쇼니디 다 약쇼디 다 개와 잠바다 지진 제메야니레제 담메 뜀바 디 세기 초세데.
Look at the first line. You are the most excellent sons of such peerless teacher. The peerless teacher refers to Buddha Shakyamuni being peerless in that there is no being who can be compared to him in terms of the skill and ability in leading beings to the achievement of a state of lasting happiness. And therefore, our peerless teacher is Buddha Shakyamuni. And amongst his many phenomenal students, those which are supreme are Manjushri and Maitreya.
담에 demati seki chos 다데 초 인다데 가리에서 초도 규바레라 와다 지진 젬베 야다 근데 지진 젬베 개와 젬바다 지진 젬베 야니디 상예 젬네데 세기 로메나데다 초도 규바레 에지레 다 인비 금세 가리랍나 다 상예 젬네데 최 송요도 도나마 송요도 야치외 람기림바 아니 야치웰람게 람기 잠니제 파진 주게 냠네 가서 진바 추전 세바 준리 냠네 제다 몰람가 데네기 야치웰람기를 봐도 매바 송요 안 데네 데나이라 동반이 남샤 봐도 매바 동바이 돈네베 냠네 제다 덴지 제와 중화 안에 간에 덴지 주게 삼나 따다 인비 금체 데네게 안 데네 동반이 남샤 망고 야치마 송요 지사 상예 점네디 송예기 최델야 숨기 최 나라 안에 던데 군주베 남샤 람기리메 남샤 지다 안에 동반이 남샤 니 송교로 던데베 나 군주베 남샤 이시모 제나다 야치웨 람기림바 시되다 잠니제 베네 예종다 잠니제 고미야 안에 지게 자주셈 고미야 진바 추준 쇠바 준리 안에 삼제 냠는 제다기 림바티 냠는 제다들라 야치웨 람기림바 시고래 제가 데네게 상예기 송시베 더나마 Geshe lamgi rimba de zo chinma ngosu sebo shu chine ane ma gongba hendi ane jisun jambe yang kaso gewa jamba ge gongba ko res ane sangye jemnan de dona ma songbe zamme lamgi rimba dongba ni namsha ane dongba ni denjin zhuo jo dongba ni jeba jedang dongba ni namsha ge jeba je dongni do be xia ge ko nyamne jedang de zo jisun jambe yang ge du chine 공부되고 그래서 공부되지 마 송고래지래.
To understand then why Manjushri and Maitreya are referred to as the most excellent sons, we look at the vast expanse of the Buddha Dharma, and this can be divided up in different ways. So one way will be to divide it up into those teachings that are in accordance with the accumulation of merit and others with the accumulation of wisdom, or they can be divided up into those in accordance with the conventional truth and those in accordance with the ultimate truth. Another way, but these all have a relationship, is to divide the teachings of the Buddha into the vast path and the profound path. So those of the vast path, the vast or expansive path, contains all the teachings that are associated with the accumulation of merit and the conventional truth. So these are the trainings in the vast path, encompass those of cultivating definite emergence and bodhicitta, and their abide minds such as love and compassion and patience and concentration and so forth, all included here within the vast path. And amongst the many students who trained in the vast path, Maitreya is singled out as being supreme. And those amongst, and then, so that's the vast path. Then that of the profound path, this includes the teachings on emptiness, those that therefore relate to the ultimate truth and the accumulation of wisdom. And whilst all the followers of the Buddha trained in both the vast and the profound path, the being that is pointed out as being most excellent or as being supreme in training in the profound path is Manjushri.
기부 마저에게 선남 첨보치면나 제투야 하고 와간저 배나가저 미로 라딘다다 상여 좀 내데 제투야마 제야마 이네다 디나신 상여 좀 내데 송규 된다디 남사 하고 투야디 오늘 지금 아주게 갈래 하고 차고로 봐 로베네 된다 하고 투야 하고 차고로 봐 제가 제준 잠배 양다 개와 잠반이디 상여 좀 내데 셰슈비 그 최가와 송배나 님도 저 최년 아니 지금 무슨야다 아니 양 델리아 최년 비kabla 두샤 샨다디기 지 하모고던 독바로시야 섬레 리위나 콘주게 람산 킹고레 켄진한디 세보서야 친달이야 안상이 좀델리 야지고슈 디간데간데 가르치 센티 바지고슈 안상이 좀한디 마주 말렌 오두스 데데데레시 세보스 오두체네 오두chen 지고레 지자 데네자 델니바텔 예외 제바 군기 쿨남네세데 다 지준 잠배 야와 잠바단 지준 잠배 양이 세기 초래 제가 초음비 김제가서 김제 가르스는 예외 제바 군유 쿨남네스도 야와서 상이 좀 낸디기로 봐. 상상이 좀 낸디기 셈쟁기 동화세야단 디기 주베기 최람된 셰바디기 빼지가 가네스 샨리아 판도 제야리아 콘서 하고야기 신예게 된다래 가네 지고도 탑람 가래 지나게 지선에 지준 잠배 야다 아니 야와 잠만이 겐렌지 켈렌지고 겐렌지바 쿨남세도 겐렌지 녜지기 상유 좀 낸디기 디기 주비야다 동화세게 탑람 빼 빠도메 손샤바디 셈제 샨다게 하고야게 된다라 가네스 판도 누구도 가네 콘들레 판바치야 돼 콘서 신야 수요고 가네시 차사딩이 제기세는 해지기 있으네 아니 델이야 아니 코로나 쪽에 겐렌지 두세 켈렌지 두스는 거라지 계획 잡아 군육 예외 잡아 군육 쿨남네스데 데네게 켈렌지 거래 켈렌 나와래 는 거래지
We ourselves, unfortunately, lacked the vast merit that was required to be amongst the direct entourage of the Buddha and receive the teachings of the sutras and tantras directly from him. And moreover, all these many years later, if we try to read, or when we read the sutras, for us they're difficult to understand. It's difficult for their meaning to arise within us. So therefore, we are, as beings of limited merit, are dependent on the kindness and the skill of many other beings too, such as Maitreya Manjushri. So they help us through their later teachings or propounding of the teachings of the Buddha, as well as at the time of the Buddha, they asked many skillful questions to the Buddha, questions that they may well have known the answer to, but through working with the Buddha, they were ensured that the answers to these questions were included in the teachings of the Buddha, in the sutras. So it's for these two reasons that Maitreya and Manjushri are referred to as excellent or supreme. Moreover, as we see now in the second line, you carry the burden of the enlightened activities of all conquerors. So this refers to that they are a son of the Buddha or a child of the Buddha, referring to that they are bodhisattvas, having generated the mind that takes responsibility for the welfare of all sentient beings. In other words, they've generated the altruistic attitude of special intention, of universal responsibility, and bodhicitta itself. And thereby, they carry the burden of the enlightened activities of all the conquerors.
안지 디기주야 동아시비야 탑란 뜬샤바디 셴심제 탐절라간에 판바간에 두고도 데니기니 판파 두기인심에 다지 켈렌이 쿨남네 안에 가르는 거라서네 장매 신도 주변 남러바 시들 장매 신도 주변 남러바 시들 다 점블링 다다 레유 레네당 안 라다 레유다 안에 오 지지게 나지게 루다 라당 데니기 가르소레 안에 점블링게 다 링템 뭐 같이 요면 딜이야 아니 지기 되네 빠도 매버 여바딜이야 샘쟁기 된달라 판도르게 주바다 말아 주바 나속에 감당 매버도 팀비게 주바 된제 주베 나바되 안 되네게 주베 된제 될이야 아니 지게 가브레네 비비 신이 가이스 진짜 뭐 주베 감당 매버 팀비게 팬비게 되는 주바 남바 나소 된제네 아니 샘쟁기 상유 점nen디기 디기주비아 탑로 송셰비 최디 콘솔리아 탑로 나서고는 되게 샘징기 디기주비아다 동아세야리아 안두스네 난고레제레
Having generated bodhicitta, become children of the Buddhas, and thereby carrying the burden of the enlightened activities of all the conquerors. In other words, being like representatives of all the Buddhas in all the worlds. We see now in the third line, and in countless realms you engage in a display of emanations. So these beings manifest throughout all the worlds of samsara, helping beings, striving skillfully to be of benefit to others, certainly here in the world of humans, but also in the worlds of gods, and amongst the nagas in the animal realm. Maitreya and Manjushri appear to benefit others. And they benefit others acting as emissaries of the Buddhas, teaching the Buddha Dharma, guiding others skillfully in a way perfectly suited to their own individual spiritual dispositions.
다디네 미밤 젬베야라 차살로세 타마디 된다 가르송고라선다 제가 제준 젬베야다 예와 젬바니디 다 상유 젬낸 디기 다 최옹어소 송야기 송야디기 디기 주에 동안세계 탑란 텐션바디 코로니기 상유 젬내 송바나제 냠렌지데 냠렌 소소규라 투규라 냠뇨기 냠렌 냠술림바 차산에서 차산 캔 데네 상유 젬낸 디기 아니 공백이 되 송제비 공동기 림바디기 마 아는 가르들려 공부제제 마송 안디마세 안지 셴심젠타 저 주바 나소요고네 주바 빠도 메바 감나 메바 팀비 주바 되는데 셴 뒤기세 두야다 동아세야기 아니 탑람제 상유 젬네 송제비 탑람데 콘솔 마데 냠네 소소에 냠네 셴리아 덴제 두스네 데니 템비게 셈점 빠도 메바야 지기야 탈바다 탐제 기모고 환려야 고모 토비오레 안 데니게 냠는다지 제신배 빠도메 봐요. 마음바나 데니 판도치 뭐. 제 데니 인자 베 마세 제준 잠배야다. 안에 제와 잠반이디 알아줄이야. 진체보다 그진체보 다 상유 점된디기 냠는 나와 나시 이제 코로나주기 두스 냠는 나지 저와 샘제 탐지기 된다래야 안 냠는 나지 두스네 그 반도 주에 빼마서 깨진 침보래스네 다 지진 제배 양다 지진 야와 자만이 구송 투수미 연대 제비 토네 안 될래 대바 제지로 제제네 다장이네야 안 되네게 냠는 제지 디나시 냠는 제 제샬라 판부주 투바쇼 샘베기 두스네 차세와래서 그러다
Geshe Rinpoche offers prostration to Maitreya Manjushri, doing so with a recognition that they trained in exactly the same way that the being that was to become Buddha Shakyamuni did. And they did so through receiving the teachings, reflecting and meditating on them with great energy, repeatedly over an extensive period of time, and in that way came to realize all the qualities of the Buddha Dharma within themselves, and thereby were able to skillfully guide others perfectly in accordance with their own karmic backgrounds and disposition. Through recognizing the great kindness of Manjushri and Maitreya, and how much benefit has come into the world and to beings from their endeavors to train exactly like the Buddha did, and develop those self-same qualities within themselves, Geshe Rinpoche here then reflects or calls to mind their qualities of body, speech, and mind, and offers prostration to them.
Dini zada dandala karisungore sene ngara zuine da sanyu chumdende na da jawa jamba da jizun jame khono chasa gi da jamni je janju sem ane dongbanyi la soba da ane parjin juge nyamlen ju duschine ane shanlia khono juge nyamlen dine na shanlia kamna meba samba tumbe ko ni juba na so tyenje chue tyenje dunga se tablam dusnan gore de zada ngara juge Desu chasang da ngarazu digi juya da dunga seye dundalu dusnan gores. De nawaenza da ngarazu ine da jizun sanyu jumden digi da jizun jamba da gyawa jamba digi kusung tu yunden dine kusung tu yunden digi samda yunden de delya deba zechidu jeze. Ane ngarazu ge denigi nyamlen cheba de ngarazu dunga seya da digi juya gi dundalu desu na je. Ane denigi chue mongbo songa de da sosu rana samda da sosu nga digi juya da nga dunga deya nga sanji ko ma thoye gi den song nga le ya song ba yin sam je ne nga ji ne da ji ge jam je sim ja tham je da nga ji ge de sa zam le na le ya gang ga dung ga ma u ye di ge pa sam da de ni gi da ge da de ne yam li jin ge na sa de ne chu lo da de ni ge gang ji thone ne na sa da ba du me ba de men ga na le ye di ge ne ba yo re di me bi ge da sa dung ya 두로 강아 태디가 강아 닝지 선배 되술야 아주 차상 되지 삼단 되서 닝지 선배 니지 고미하다 안에 심 되서 심자 탐제라 대화다 되나 선배기 대화 템버쇼 섬제 안 잠제 고미야 잠제 삼당 아주 누신당 아주 다디 내갑들 록전 제제데 샤세 나온 되디갑라 안 되니게 심제라 잠바다 제와 고미야디 이 삼다데 계침보 슈차고 되니게 삼다 되니 잠제 고미네 안 되니게 잠재 겁니다. 소수게 나 되비 갑라 나 건조 숨리아 최고 부야라 소바다 소수게다 매니다야다 개와 같이 제가 심전 탐제다 대야사 내ям다 디네 찾아 시시 내 탐제 시 심전 탐제 류기 나자다 심비 동아 탐제 시시 심전 탐제라 안 심전 탐제규래 잠바다 제와디 개월쇼 삼제 안디 돈달랑이 계슈주유 삼제 안디네 가지고 지게 최고 부야이나라 차세와이나라 정아저 나사바드 메니탕바나 기주가 주게나 데네 삼다제 루웨이나 안아저 이네 안셈 뢰뢰 차야지다 안에 셴리니야 안에 지 판도야디 용거와 제자 데네 인자 잠제디 곰바인 데네 제바나 안아저 이나 삼로디 곰시 쳇쳇쳇쳇 차도 안에 곰시야 쳇쳇도 안에 야 타라산디고바 장주 셈 귤레기야다 닝지 귤레기야 자주심 귤레기야기 타녀르녀 주고래 디타녀 주바이나 나산요 고모토야래 타녀 주고래 산요 고모토 타녀 주고나 대시 된바 산요 점된 데다 야와 잠바다 지진 제매요 구송 투수 연된디 디나 신징 하나 줄 주게야 다 예 주고 와 진짜 디네 연사당 하나 주게 다 디기 디링이다데 나 주게 롭션 쉐바 디기 디네 털이야 가지고 곰자디 계치 무슈 차고래 아니 덴데게 남샤선 덴디 남샤선 다야 지상 하나 주게 네 나자 강아 칸에 제가 지수 유단 깨매 발라 되는 용 유단 깨라 되는 용고 제 유단 깨네 가서네 냐마 겨왕아마 량안바 녀모바게 되샤 콩도 녀모부 원기 맞을 량안바 사디게 둥아냐다데 차고 제자당아 주게 녀모바데 방고래 생하나 주 소수 유기 녀모바데 마충 다야 되는 매바수 고래 삼지 노체는 아주 베지해야지 나 되는 쇼회기디 아주 삼다야데 되네시 난 영고 된마 모티제다 된마 공부 루줍다 파워 토메라 소발라 서바 차세위기 어두스콜 마티니 쉬야지
Our first session on this text now has come to an end. Our spiritual time is also, our time together is also impermanent. So to summarize what we've looked at in these two verses, firstly, homage here, prostration here has been offered to Buddha Shakyamuni, to Maitreya and to Manjushri, in particular to their qualities of body, speech and mind. And this was done so as to remind us that these great and incomparable beings were once ordinary, were once just like us, but through training in the qualities of the Buddha Dharma, they became great beings. So we need to remind ourselves of this, because we don't recognize our incredible individual capacity, not knowing what we are truly capable of. Our strength of mind is very limited. Our mental energy is very weak. Through reminding ourselves of what has been presented here, we can come to give rise to a strength of mind through recognizing the incredible capacity we have as beings who have achieved a precious human rebirth. And we too can train like the being that became Shakyamuni, the beings who became Manjushri and Maitreya, through cultivating bodhicitta, the 6 perfections, the wisdom realizing emptiness. So we can train just like them. And this is imperative to do, because when we think about the situation in the world, there are so many problems. Pandemic is causing so much fear and anxiety amongst those who are ill, amongst their loved ones, concerned about those that they are near and dear to possibly dying, or perhaps they're suffering for those who have died, as well as the natural disasters that continue to strike our world because of climate change. And so many people suffering due to impoverishment, and in other ways too. So this we must use as a basis for our compassion. And if we can come to recognize our incredible inner capacity, that compassion we can develop to the extent of generating bodhicitta within us. So reflect on what has been presented here on these various topics. Give rise to a strength of mind and a wish to be of benefit to others, to ease their pain and suffering. And in these reflections, include that of dependence arising, recognizing that our current state, the state of each individual, and as the world in general, comes about in dependence on causes and conditions. They are dependent arisings. They are not fixed. They have come about in dependence on causes and conditions, and all unwanted results have come about in dependence on contaminated karma accumulated by afflicted minds. And therefore, recognizing this, we can commit to eradicating our own afflictions so as to accumulate the causes for lasting stable happiness, and thereby be able to dedicate this merit to others. And thereby, we also, through our spiritual development, be able to have a greater positive impacts on first those in our immediate vicinity, later on our society, and in the future on the world as a whole, through becoming a being such as Buddha Shakyamuni or Maitreya or Manjushri, becoming like them ourselves. So in this way, we take these first two verses, reflecting on them, generating strength of mind, also taking into account the dire situation in many regards in the world today, utilizing our opportunity of being locked in our homes, and generate minds of virtue. And having generated them, then accumulate further virtue through reciting mantras such as Om Mani Padme Hum, or doing prostrations, or making offerings, and so forth. Dedicating all this virtue to others, engaging in our ongoing spiritual development for the sake of others. So we'll finish here then for our first session, and this afternoon we'll continue with the third verse, where homage is offered to Nagarjuna and the Sangha. So thank you very much.